What's up, y'all? This prison story is about when I caught my homeboy under a transgender bed in prison. Now, before we get to this story, I'm going to let y'all know something about me when I was locked up. I ran a tight, strict program. And when I say a tight, strict program, anybody that wanted to be a part of my crew, of my organization, I have rules. And you have to follow these rules to a T, because what I offered in prison was prison protection. Basically, if you was an inmate, again, for those that never heard this story before or ever heard me tell a story before, this is going to be new to your ears. So everybody else that know how I program this, sit back, relax, and it's for the new people. So how I got on was that if you was an inmate, whether you was white, black, Mexican, Asian, don't matter. If you was an inmate and you felt like you was in danger, you couldn't survive, you couldn't hold your own, or you done got into a situation that might end up taking your life in prison, you would come to me or somebody in my crew and be like, yo, I need your help. And I would give you a price, normally, depending on what it is, minimum, it might be $100 every week. The max that I ever charged somebody for was about 20 grand a month. So when you running something like that, the people that's with you got to be thorough. They got to be stumped down. They got to be ready to go at any moment notice. Meaning they got to be willing to take somebody's life. If I command it, if I will that. If I tell somebody like, yo, go in that cell and handle your business. Go in that cell and send that cat to the upper room. Well, that's what they got to do. And I hate to say it like that, but hey, it's prison. It is what it is. But more likely than none, we never really had to take somebody's life. Now, we was close to it many times. But for the most part, my aggressiveness kind of quelled certain situations. But anyway, let's get to Donta's strict program before we get into the story. Now, one of my first rules of all rules, you under no circumstance are you to be involved in homosexuality. Let me say that again. In my program, the number one rule is that you are under no circumstances to be in a homosexual relationship or doing homosexual acts while in prison in my crew. Okay. Another rule is that when you go to speak to a homosexual, you better make sure that there's somebody that's with you. Okay. Let me say that again. If you are speaking to a homosexual or doing any type of business, I don't care if you trading something off the tray or whatever, somebody better be there to verify what was said. Okay. Because in prison, like I said in prior videos, dudes gossip like women. Okay. And shout out to all the women out there. But you would think in prison that dudes, be men, but they don't. It's just a drama. It's like high school, middle school. Dudes that's always running their mouth, always in somebody's business, right? And one thing that, people would say out here in the world, these so-called real prison dudes, they'll say, oh, you just need to mind your business in prison. That shit sound good. You might even look good saying that. But we all know dudes is always in other men's business. And this is why dudes get their head busted to the white meat. Because one person to say something in confidence to somebody thinking they ain't going to say nothing. And now the whole prison know. And now you about to get confronted. You know what, y'all? Bunk that. I'm going to make a separate video about how Dante ran his strict program and the rules and regulations. So we'll just get straight to the story. Now, before we get to the story, I need for y'all to do me a favor right quick. It don't cost you nothing. I just need for y'all to hit that like button. And if you can, hype the video. It's very appreciated. And also, we'll just hurry up and get the poll of the day out the way real fast, okay? Who do y'all think will win this fight? Okay, I done had this on my mind for a long time. Who do y'all think will win this fight? Do y'all think Michael Myers will win this fight or Jason? If Michael and Jason had a bang out, I'm talking about they was in the room, no weapons involved, just hand to hand, fist to fist, feet to feet. Who do y'all think will win? Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees? Let me see what y'all got on y'all mind in the comment section. Now let's get to the story. So I had this homeboy named Dion Smith from Flint, Michigan, North Side, North Saginaw Street, right off of Edmond, third house off the corner, right? I met Dion back in 2000, I'm going to say 08. 08. Yeah, this was in 08 that I met Dion. And Dion was this tall, lanky dude. Dion was about 6'1", maybe 160, maybe even 150 pounds. Dion was a lightweight. He was just tall and lanky, right? And he was like a silly dude. So when Dion come in our unit, I'm surprised, like, this the last person that I would think that would come to prison. But when you come from Flint, Michigan, you might, hey, I say it take one mistake, just one simple mistake, and you will go to prison. One mess up, right? So I'm looking, and I'm like, oh, there's Dion. Now, I'm playing checkers with this white boy named Cal, right? Cal from Detroit. And, you know, he's the only one that in there that like to play chess and checkers with me. So I'm over here playing with the white boy, and I'm looking, and I'm like, that's Dion. But I don't want to get up from the game. So I, motion to my homeboy Al, like, hey. So Al come over there. He like, I said, hey, go see, is that dude named Dion? When he go in his cell, go ask him, is he from Flint? And ask him, is his name Dion? And so he's like, I got you. So Dion end up getting his cell or whatever, and he go to his cell or whatever. So Al bail up the stairs, and he go to his cell, and he up there talking to him, whatever. So Al come downstairs. He like, yeah, he said his name Dion. I said, oh, okay. So I'm like, all right, bet. So I get up from the table. I'm like, I'm finna go holler at him right quick. So I get up there and I go up there. I'm like, hey, Dion, what's up, bruh? Now, the way he was looking, he looked kind of scared a little bit, like real nervous, till he like really sat in and like zoomed in on my face. He like, Dante? I said, what up, Dion? So I came in there, gave him a handshake, a pound or whatever. I'm like, man, what's up, man? What you doing in here? He was like, man, I popped somebody. I said, you popped somebody? He was like, yeah, man, but it wasn't my fault. This dude was trying to rob me at the corner store. Actually, he robbed me twice, and I just got sick of this, man. And one day, I just boomed the nigga. I said, did he die? He was like, no, he ain't died, but, they caught it all on camera, and they said it wasn't self-defense because I never reported the first two robberies or whatever. And, yeah, I said, how much time they give you? He said, man, they was trying to get me life. I said, what? Off of a tip? He was like, yeah, because, well, it was some others that happened too. I said, what? What happened? He said, well, when I was shooting at him, I just started shooting and it struck a couple cars and some others, man. But, yeah, they tried to give me life, but I copped out to 15 in life. I said, ooh. I said, all right, man. So I'm like, all right, well, what's good? So he was like, shoot, man, I'm hurting in here, man. I'm hurting. I'm like, well, shoot, I mean, I can get you down with the team or whatever. He was like, well, what you mean? I said, well, shoot, I run a business up in here. He was like, well, what type of business? I said, well, nah, it ain't gonna work for you. And to be real, y'all, I did have a little soft spot for Dion because I used to dated his sister back in the day or whatever. And, you know, Dion was just one of them dudes that he wasn't no troublemaker. He never really got into no mess. And I can see, like, you know, him busting at the guy, whatever else happened in this case, it's probably wasn't his fault, whatever. But hey, it is what it is. So, and then another thing, I don't like to see none of my people from Flint, Michigan go without. So I'm thinking like, well, I can't really put him like officially on the team, like, because I know he ain't no hitter. I know he ain't gonna pick up no knife and, you know, put that work in if need be. And if I sent him on a mission to go collect some money or whatever, I'm like, well, I might can use him as something. Maybe I could just have him to collect from, you know, the weak white boys or whatever. Maybe I can have him, you know, hit him off a little something here and there, whatever. So I said, look, this is what I'm going to do for you. So what I do here, I offer protection. Like, me and my homeboys are here. We like security for other inmates. When I said that, his whole face dropped. Like, man, I ain't trying to get involved with that. And I said, but you know what I'm going to have you doing if you want to, I'll just have you go around collecting the money. So he was like, the money? I was like, yeah, the commissary, you know, noodles, beef sausages, Faygo pops, you know, the whole nine, cigarettes, whatever. He was like, okay, cool. I can do that. I can do that. I said, but listen, you ain't no homosexual now, are you? He said, man, come on, Dante. Man, come on, man. It's me, man. You know I ain't gay. I said, I'm only saying that for a reason, because in my crew, you know, you can't deal with no punks, no homosexuals. And you gotta be a rider. But in your case, you know, we got you. But just, yeah. And he was like, okay, all right, bet. So I leave out the cell. Now, nothing really, how can I put it? Nothing eventful took place for like the next 2 weeks. If I go through that whole 2 weeks, the story gonna be boring as hell. So let's fast forward to 2 weeks later. Now, there was this homosexual named Reva, right, from Detroit, Michigan, East Side, right? Reva come in the unit. Now, when Reva came in the unit, me and Dion was over here doing push-ups, right? Push-up and burpees. So we over here getting our workout on, whatever. And when Reva come in, he stopped, right? He right in the middle of his burpee, he stopped and he zoom in, and then he just get up. He like, hey, Dante, I'll be back right quick. So he get up and he just walk off fast to his cell. So I'm like, what the hell? What is he doing? So I look over into the door and I seen 2 white boys, a black dude, and I seen Reva. So it didn't really dawn on me like, okay, this is the person that, why he acting strange, why he got up and left, because of the homosexual, whatever. I'm like, okay, all right, whatever. Because we had maybe about 3 open, known homosexuals that act like females in the unit already. So it wasn't, you know, it wasn't a shock to see Reva come through. So I'm like, all right, whatever. So Reva ended up going upstairs to his cell, right? So I guess Reva got the cell assignment to go in the cell with Dion, right? So they up there, and I'm doing my pull-ups on under the stairs. You know, Dante getting his workout on, getting my triceps and biceps on, right? So I'm doing my pull-ups, and I see Dion come out, and Dion like, all right, let's get back to it. So I said, hey, what cell did that gay guy go into? He was like, oh, you talking about Reva? I said, I guess. He was like, oh, they put him in my cell. I said, come again? He was like, yeah, they put him in my cell. I said, so I stopped, you know, doing my pull-ups, and I jumped down. I said, you know you can't be in the cell with him, right? He was like, oh, why not? I said, what you mean, why not? He was like, oh, I mean, shit, we in prison. I ain't gay or nothing. I said, listen. You are a part of my program. And that right there is a cardinal sin. You can't be in the cell with homeboy. Tell him he got to go. He was like, all right, man, all right, but I know him. I said, you know him? He was like, yeah, I knew him from the streets or whatever, from Detroit. I said, and how do you know him again? He was like, I mean, he just been around my family, whatever. Like, he like a friend of the family type of deal. I said, listen, I don't give a fuck if that's your brother. You ain't been in the cell with him. And he was like, all right, I got you. So he go back upstairs or whatever, and they talking or whatever. And then he come out, he said he ain't going. He ain't leaving. So I said, all right, I see how this shit going. So I bail up the stairs real fast, and I go up in the cell. Now, Reva at this time, maybe about 5'6", 5'7", skinny dude, maybe about 130 pounds or whatever. So I bail up in there, and at this time, y'all, Donta about 6 foot, 225, all muscle, right? So I bail up in the cell. I said, hey, man, you got to get your shit and get up out of here. And he was like, what? I said, you got to get your shit and get up out of here. And he was like, who is you? I said, I'm Donta, and I'm telling you, get the fuck out this cell. And he was like, all right, okay, big boy, you ain't gotta get all tough with me. I get it. I get the point. So he started packing his stuff back out, and I walk out, right? So he go downstairs, he go to the control booth, and he point right at me. Right? The guard come over there, he like, hey, Donta, you threatening him, telling him he can't be in that cell or whatever? I said, I ain't threatening him. I just told him he can't be in the cell. So the guard was like, hey, listen, man, either he going back in that cell or he going in the cell with you. I said, what? He was like, either he's going back in that cell or he going in the cell with you or you going to the hole. I ain't got time for your foolishness. I said, all right, man. Yeah, man. Fuck, he can stay in there, man. Whatever, man. Right? So Reva walked off and was like, I thought so. And kept walking. And I said, man, this got some attitude. So he go upstairs or whatever. And I'm like, hey, Dion, hey, listen, man. You gonna have to get up out that cell, man. Matter of fact, you gonna get in the cell with me. So he was like, all right, I'll go holler at the guard. So we both go over there, to the control booth. We talk to the guard, like, listen, he can't be in the cell. I don't want to be in the cell. Donta ain't got no cellmate. Can I go in there with him? So the guard like, you agree to that, Donta? I'm like, yeah. So Dion go up there, he get his stuff, whatever, right? Bam, boom. Now he's in the cell with me. For the next 2 weeks, you will see Dion over there talking to him, talking to Reva. Now, the guys in my crew, they asked me like, yo, what's up with your boy? What's up with Dion, right? Because everybody know the rules. You don't supposed to be over there conversation and and kikiing with no damn gay guy up in here. If you doing business with them, do the business and move on, right? So they asked me, I'm like, man, dude, he talking about he know him from the city or whatever, and that's his people or whatever. They like, well, Donta, you know the rules. I said, yeah, I know. I'm the one that invented the rules. I'll holler at him, right? So I bailed over there, and I'm like, hey, Dion, let me talk to you, because he talking to Reva. So he like, what's up? I said, hey, you gonna have to tone that down, talking to homeboy like that. And he was like, what's the problem? I said, I told you what's the problem from the get-go. I said, hey, I ain't gonna keep explaining to you why you can't be sitting up there talking to this dude. So he was like, all right, man, all right. So I walk off and I go hit the yard, right? Let's fast forward 3 days later. I'm laying on my bunk. Now this is where it's finna get crazy, y'all. I'm laying on my bunk, right? And Al like, hey, Donta, get up, man, get up. I'm like, what's up? He like, listen, I just got done talking to Reva, and you won't believe what he told me. I said, what'd he tell you? He was like, man, he said in a county jail, him and Dion was having sex. I said, what? He said, yeah. And he told me, like, that's his man. I said, what? He was like, yeah. He said, that's his man. I said, how the fuck? So I get up, because I was kind of in a daze, right? I get up. I'm like, hold on. Where did you hear that from? He said, Reva told me out his own mouth that that's his man, whatever. And I guess they getting into it or whatever. And he telling him, like, yo, why you letting Dante punk you like that? And, you know, you act like he your daddy, and I'm going to come clean and tell everybody who we really are to each other and all this and that. I said, man, get the out of here. He was like, yeah. So I'm like, oh, no, we can't handle that. He was like, yeah. And it's wild, man. He threatened to put him on blast. So I said, you know what? Go get Reva. Go get Reva and have him come to my cell. So at this time, y'all, Dion is on a visit or whatever. So he go get Reva. And Reva was like, man, Dante, I ain't got nothing to say to you. I said, hey, listen, man, I need to know verbatim of what you said to my homeboy about Dion. And don't leave nothing out. He was like, what you talking about? I said, come on, man, stop playing. I said, listen, I don't know if you know what I do around here, and listen, whatever you got going on with your lifestyle, that's you. And whatever Dion got going on, it affects me directly, you know, because he in my cell and he a part of my crew. And no disrespect to you and how your lifestyle is, but I can't have no homosexuals running around in my crew. So I need for you to keep it real with me and tell me what's happening. So he was like, all right, look, yeah, I knew Dion off, you know, in the streets. I knew him off this gay hookup website, whatever. That's how we met. I said, what? He said, yeah, me and him knew, we got history. We've been knowing each other for about 10 years. I said, okay. And he said, so it's only natural that, you know, when I got locked up, it's basically the guy beat me up. It was a guy that beat me up. I ended up killing him or whatever. But his brother used to beat me up too. And that's the guy that Dion shot. I said, wait, hold up. So this was like some revenge type why Dion got locked up to wait, what? He said, yeah, there was a guy I used to mess with, right? Dion, the guy used to beat me up. Dion basically came as my knight in shining armor. And I ended up shooting the guy, killing him. But then his brother wanted to do something to me. So Dion ended up killing his brother. I said, wait a minute. Dion said that he was getting robbed. And that's how he said, no, man, no. Dion shot his brother a couple years later. And that's the truth. That's what happened. I said, what? So basically Dion got locked up. Dion got locked up to be in here with you? He was like, yeah. And basically, you know, he keep telling me, you keep telling him he can't be around me and stuff. And it's killing me, Dante. It's killing me. I said, hell no, this ain't gonna work. So I said, listen, I'm finna go have somebody go get Dion. And I'm gonna give him a choice. Either he gonna get out the organization today, right now, this minute, or something gonna have to happen. And he was like, what you mean something gonna have to? I said, because I don't play games like that. So he was like, okay. So I sent Al out to go get Dion, right? So when Al went to go get Dion, Al went to go get Torty, Homicide, Dino, and J-Rock. This was J-Rock before we found out that he was playing military mind games. So we all bunched up in the cell, and then Dion walked in, and he see Reva right there. So he was like, well, what's going on, y'all? I said, Dion, who is this to you? He was like, what you mean? I said, who is Reva to you? He was like, man, just somebody I knew from the streets. So Reva was like, let's tell him the truth, man. I already told him who we are, what we be doing. And he was like, he just sat there for a minute. He dropped his head. He was like, man, Dante, I apologize, man. I apologize. Yeah, I know him. I know him more than I know him more than I told you that I know him. I said, Reva, leave out the cell. Right? So as Reva leaving out, he like, y'all don't hurt him. Please don't hurt him. I said, get out the cell. So he get out, right? So I jump up off the bed. I told Al, give me the knife, right? So when Al gave me the knife, Dion was like, come on, Dante, don't do this, man. Please, man, don't do this, man. I swear to God, man, I'll get out the unit. I'll go to the hole, man. I promise to God, man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So I told him, hold him, y'all. So they grabbed Dion, right? They put him in the Ford Nelson. So he like, please, Dante, please don't do this to me. Please don't do this to me. I said, Dion, I told you from the get-go, from day one, didn't I tell you that my golden rule is that you can't be involved in homosexuality because that's going to make my crew look bad and put a stain on my reputation? He was like, yeah, man, I know. I said, so why should I show you any mercy when you just tried to compromise my whole organization? Huh? What that look like if I don't do nothing to you? So he was like, come on, Dante, man, I apologize, man. I'm sorry, man. I promise to God, man, I'll leave the unit. I said, you're going to leave the unit. You definitely going to leave the unit. So I said, hey, y'all, bring him back in here. Tell Reva to come back in there. So they grabbed Reva and brought Reva back in. I gave Reva the knife. I said, this was going to happen, Reva. I want you to give him $150 across his face. And he was like, what? I said, you going to give him $150 across his face. Reva like, well, what is that? I said, I want you to cut him from his ear down to his jaw. And he was like, I'm not going to do that. I said, either you do that or I'm going to kill both of you fools right now. He was like, wait, what do you mean? I said, either you cut him now or I'm going to kill both of you fools right now. So he was like, oh okay. I'm sorry, Dion. And he slashed him. Bam. Dion was like, Right? So I had my homeboy cover Dion's mouth, whatever. So he laying there like shaking. I said, listen, you gonna go down there. You gonna tell the guards. I don't know who somebody cut me. Somebody cut me on the tier, and you don't know who it was. So it was like, okay. I said, let me tell you something, Dion. If you tell that we did this to you, it don't matter where you go, what prison you transfer to. I got homies that'll ride with me in every prison that will do something to you if you snitch. Now go down there and go tell the guards what I just said. So he got up holding his face, right? You know, we get rid of the knife, and I told Reva, like, listen, you better keep your mouth closed too. So Reva leave out, right? He come down there leaking. The guards hit the code. Everybody go to your cells, go to your cells, go to your cells. They did a little investigation, whatever. But we was locked down for about 5 days. They shook us down, tore up all the cells or whatever, looking for knives or whatever. I had this one guy, this white cat that owed me a little something. I had him put 2 knives in his cell and a couple drugs or whatever so he can take the whole rap for everything. He didn't go down for that. They just wanted something. You know, when they do these shakedowns, they want something, or they just gonna do the most for a whole month or two. So you always got to have a fall guy or whatever. But he didn't get blamed for the stabbing. They just wanted something. So we gave him a couple of dog food and a couple knives or whatever. And when they turned the cell up, they found it, and that's all they needed, right? To appease them. Reva shortly after wrote a kite and said that he feared for his life. And they ended up getting Reva out of there too. The next time I would see Dion was actually 2 years ago. I was at Kroger, right, in Flint, Michigan, going down the cereal aisle, right, getting some Frosted Flakes. And I see him coming down the aisle. Now, I know he aged a little bit, got a little weight on him, just a little bit or whatever. But he looked at the same. And he had that scar right there on his face. And when he looked at me, it's like he seen a ghost, right? I looked at him, he looked at me. We just kept it moving. Y'all make sure y'all subscribe to my movie and my gaming channel. I'm going to have that link pinned at the top of the comment section. Also, y'all subscribe to Stacy's Storytime. She's tell phenomenal stories just like myself. And if y'all feeling generous, make sure y'all leave me a tip. I'm accepting Cash App, Zelle, and PayPal. Until next time, y'all take care. I'm gone.